Is there nothing in hell but people guilty of the only blasphemy against the Holy Spirit? This is a fundamental question. To know who goes to hell, we must first refer to the very text of the Lord. In Matthew, chapter 12, verse 31, "So I say to you, all sin, all blasphemy will be given to men. But blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven, and whoever has spoken a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven. But whoever speaks against the Holy Spirit, it will not be given to him, neither in this world nor in the other." It remains to know what blasphemy is against the Holy Spirit. In fact, of all the sins that prevent a relationship with God, because sin is not necessarily guilty, since original sin, in babies, prevents a relationship with God, but does not come from them, it comes from the choice from Adam and Eve. Well, among all those who prevent a loving relationship of friendship with God, we can consider that there are three major groups. First, we can be far from God, not love Him heart to heart, in charity because we simply do not know Him. This will be called sin against the Word. In other words, against the Eternal Son, since God is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Why against the Son, who is also called the Word? Because it is none other than the knowledge that God has of Himself. And so, if we do not know God, it is the famous sin against the Word. When this ignorance is not guilty at all. That it is, for example, as in the case of Nicodemus, because he does not know what is happening in God, this thing will not subsist in hell. And that's normal. Who can be accused of ignorance? Secondly, when the sin that this time can be guilty is committed by weakness, it means that we know what we do, but we do it anyway because we give in to the weakness of our sensitivity. We call that the sin against the Father. Why? Because in the Trinity, we attribute to the Father the origin of everything, therefore omnipotence. Do the damned and the demons claim the beatific vision? I would say that this is one of the most important questions to understand the attitude and behavior of the damned and demons. From those who are in hell. The reality, I said, is that they get to hell all the material goods that God could give them. The two things they lose, finally, is the beatific vision, they do not see God face to face, and secondly, they have no neighbor since they are deeply selfish and proud. And even if they are together, it's not a neighbor, they despise each other. The consequence of all this is that they get in them a deep imbalance. They discover, with absolute precision, that their heart is not neutral. It means that their heart is a gulf made to see God face to face. They discover it, they are perfectly lucid, and therefore, as a result, they begin to claim the beatific vision. But not for love. We must not believe that they desire the beatific vision out of love. If they desired it out of love, they would obtain it, since it is obtained by a sort of marriage of love, of intimate alliance. They claim it out of covetousness. That means that Lucifer, that was the beginning of his revolt, wants it, because he thinks he deserves it. And all the work he does with humans trying to damn them, and especially women who are treasures that can get the most humility and love, by disposition, would be to revolt the whole of humanity so that God sees that no one wants his project based on humility and love. Therefore, everyone is asking for the beatific vision because we are entitled to it. He has made us spirits, but a spirit wants to see the cause of causes, it is normal, so he must give it to us. This is the project that makes him work. It's a project, we know it as Christians, which is absurd because it's as if he thought God is asking us to be humble, and to love him, on a whim, to stay at his place, and put us here, as he said to Adam and Eve. That means he wants to dominate. The reality is not that. Because God cannot do otherwise. What seems odd, he who is all-powerful. But no, he is not almighty, in the sense that he cannot change his nature. Her nature, she is Trinitarian. It means that he is infinite, and in his Trinitarian life, each person puts the other forward, is infinitely humble, to put the other above himself. So the reality is that if we see God, we see that. And it's a devouring fire. If you do not arrive with a very small heart, kenosis, you simply cannot stand it. So no one can see God without dying. What does it mean? Well, what the demon and the damned claim, the beatific vision, is what is called an absurdity. It's also presumption. That means they want to get a good, by refusing the conditions. It's an absurd revolt. But if they ever understood that it was absurd, they would lose all energy. So, it's good that they think there is hope, and that I'm wrong in saying that they are always fighting to try to damn as many humans as possible. Well, that's to understand the work, precise, rigorous, permanent, demons and damned to lead us to hell. You have to understand that. They have a hope, the beatific vision.